Sign up to The Economist for in-depth curated expert analysis of world events and topics ranging from business and culture to science and technology. You'll get the weekly digital edition, online-only articles, curated newsletters on politics, the markets, science, culture and China, and full access to The Economist Podcast Plus. The Economist is independent journalism for independent thinking. Go to economist.com and get your first month free.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Savaged, unfiltered.
All right, guys, welcome to today's show. Today is going to be a bonus show, guys. Joining us today is a author and writer, Mr. Joe Templin. Folks, Joe is a man that uses the concept of everyday excellence. And today we're going to learn about what everyday excellence means behind the man and the author himself, Joe Templin. Now, folks, he also follows the concept excellence as a habit, and also stating that habits need to be acted upon daily. Welcome to the show, Joe. How are you doing, sir?
Michael, I'm doing awesome. We're in the middle of a thunderstorm, so if I accidentally get kicked off, no, it's not me being stupid again. It's Mother Nature interfering.
Hey, you know, stupidity, it's okay. You can't blame stupidity. You got to blame Mother Nature. So I do understand that, Joe. Joe, I want to get into basically, just who Joe Templin is. Can you explain to the listeners here and the viewers that are tuning into, just about any other platform of just who you are, sir?
So I'm a human Swiss Army knife in a lot of ways because I've done so many different things, been exposed to so many different concepts, ideas, professions in different ways. So to give a brief synopsis, I'm a farm kid by background. My mom, the nun, yes, my mom, the nun, ended up leaving the convent, marrying my dad, who was an army guy. He ended up going into consulting, spent 50 plus years consulting. My mom was a biology professor in college and then left that, ended up having 6 kids. We grew up in a rural community. My hometown did not get a traffic light until after I was out of grad school. Let's see what else is important. Give me one second.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Sorry, I was just making sure that the surge suppressor was plugged in so I don't fry the computer and have.
Oh, okay.
So when I was 10 years old, I was a severely asthmatic as a child. When I was 10 years old, I died. Obviously, I got better.
Oh my God.
Started college at 13 because my parents said 12 was too young. Went to the Hopkins program, same program that Zuckerberg went to. No, I do not know him. And then ended up going to Rensselaer, where I was a physicist. I worked for DARPA developing weapons for the government. Somewhere along the line, maybe I was like 12, I started Taekwondo, ultimately got my black belt, became master rank, won an international championship, picked up running along the way, started ultra running a few years ago. During COVID, I actually ran 2 ultra marathons. I hate running, by the way. I've been an intelligence officer. I built an incredibly successful financial services career. And along the way, I did a lot of writing for local newspapers, some national magazines and newspapers. And as part of how I dealt with COVID, I ended up writing the book, Everyday Excellence, A Daily Guide to Growing.
Oh, wow. Joe, you mentioned
about here.
Yeah, you mentioned some really, really interesting things as you were explaining to the listeners, of who you are. Something caught my eye, and I'm sure the listeners were listening as well too. With the, Can you go into that? Like, what do you mean you almost died? Was it like
No, I
light
didn't almost die. I actually died. Flatline, floating out of your body, bright lights, big, deep, booming voice, all that, came on back. I literally died.
Oh, wow. Can you
So,
experience an experience that you might have? I mean, you said you've seen the big white lights. I mean, did you? I don't want to sound like neurotic here, but I mean, did you? Did you experience the afterlife, so to speak?
no, because I didn't quite get there. I mean, the big, deep voice was like, it's not yet time. And then I was back down in my body. So I didn't quite finish the journey. It was sort of like one of my plane trips where you're stuck on the tarmac for a while. So
Yeah.
I ended up coming back. And that's basically the reason why I'm like this, is my friends say I burn the candle at both ends and in the middle with a flamethrower. So those
Oh, wow.
86,400 seconds we get every day, I use them.
Yeah, and this is something that you mentioned in your book, right? About the death experience that you had experienced in
Actually,
the.
I don't mention it in the book anywhere. That's a special treat for your listeners.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you
So
threw
it's
that in
not
there.
something, it's something that I've just recently started talking about, actually, after having some conversations with other people, but it has dramatically influenced my attitude and my approach towards things. So
Oh, I
I,
bet.
in most situations, we either can go total multitask and do multiple things at the same time. So like you're driving into work and you can listen to a podcast. You can be listening to music and talking to somebody on the phone while commuting. You can be making dinner, supervising kids doing homework, and listening to an audiobook with them or music or what have you. And if you have
Yeah,
kids like I do, you're supervising multiple sets of homework, so it's like a three-ring circus at that point.
sure.
So we can, I work out, I'll be running and I'll be listening to an audiobook, or I'll be on the treadmill and I'll have the computer playing music and a podcast going that I'm listening to simultaneously. So you can double or even
Right,
triple dip on a lot of those sort of things. I mean, this is the reason
right,
why I
right.
don't sit there and
It's
watch sports or in like the Super Bowl. I'll listen to the Yankees games on the MLB
the
app.
Yankees. Oh,
Um,
I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, so you might not like me.
you know what? I'll tolerate you.
Oh, you'll talk. That's well. I'm
And,
originally from.
my
Yeah,
nephews live in Holliston, so.
I'm originally from New York, but I reside here in the Sunshine State, also known as the Freedom State of Florida. But I want to get into something rather interesting. I mean, before we get there, I mean, Joe, it sounds like you're a traditional, all around American. You've led a very interesting life, and now stating that you have gotten into work with Intel, which I find very, very interesting. I love to ask a few questions about that, and what made you go to that, which is actually interesting, Joe, because I mean you're actually the second guest here that I've had on the show that was an Intel officer. I had another guest on my show by the name of Pedro Orta. Pedro Israel Orta. I had to get the name correct. And it's quite fascinating. What made you get into the intelligent industry?
So I actually had not one, but two really bad business experiences where it turned out I was working with felons who stole all the money. So
Oh,
I
wow.
raised millions of dollars, and it turns out that the other people that one was an organization I joined, and the other one I went into business with somebody who a deeper dive would have determined that he had a bad background and was a bad human being. So that those are two shame on me situations. But when I went from applied physics into nuclear engineering in graduate school, my first class that I took was called nuclear reactor analysis. And on the first exam, I got a 99, and my professor asked me, "How'd you do this?" And I'm like, "I just thought like a neutron." And he's like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." And he's completely, crazy and actually a brilliant entrepreneur at this point. I still maintain contact with him almost 30 years later. But having been then exposed to really bad people who were doing financial crimes, essentially.
Hey, guys. If you're looking for a steak, I know it's hard to find steak, right? You know, a lot of restaurants that just overcooked, undercooked, just not to your taste buds, right? You want that juicy steak. Look no further than Omaha Steak. I love them, guys. Love them. If I didn't love them, why wouldn't I be promoting them on the podcast today? Go over to Omaha Steaks, okay? They are phenomenal, guys. The juiciest steak you'll ever taste in your life, okay? A lot of people are like, well, how does it get delivered to your house? You know, with gnats and bugs going to get into it. And no. It's not, you don't have to worry about all that. It is in a sealed, perishable bag delivered to your house. So you don't have to worry about the gnats and the bugs get into it. It's fresh from the time they ship it from their distribution center to the time it arrives at your house. The juiciest steak you'll ever have in your life, guys. Check them out today. Omaha Steaks. Love them. They're phenomenal.
Unfiltered.
Put on a black hat for a little bit in terms of that.
Well, I mean, you have to act as a bad guy, Joe, you know, to truly understand, you know, coming from a criminal mindset, to understand, you know, how they got to that level and what made them go to that insanity, right? I mean,
yeah, or it's not insanity. It's, you know, just a complete and total almost narcissism. It is other people exist to serve me, and I deserve to take this money. And one of the guys, like, completely wrapped himself in faith and flag. I mean, he's you know, former Marine, and he's the one bad Marine I've ever met, unfortunately. And you know, Bible thumper and all that. And he was using it as a camouflage, essentially.
oh, wow.
Be able to perform malfeasance. And so this, you know, after having those experiences, I reached out to and talked to Everett Stern from Tactical Rabbit, which is a private intelligence agency because the CIA can't operate on U.S. soil, and started asked him to do some stuff, hired him to do things. He's like, hey, you've got an interesting background. Let's get you to do some analysis work here. And then within 9 months, he's like, oh wow, and ended up hooking me up with some people, and we won't talk too much about who and all that. But I ended up starting tracking down criminals, specifically on the financial criminal side, because I was very good at playing the game of follow the money.
Yeah, can you explain to the listeners on what you mean by that? Following the money.
So the entire world exists on a capitalistic basis. Let's not forget that. I don't care if you've got a terrorist who's hiding in a cave in Afghanistan. They have weapons that they did not make. They have technology that they did not create. Everything revolves around money on the planet. If you don't believe that, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. But so all money leaves a trace in some capacity. It might be digital, even if it is gold, even if it's putting value in art and then unlocking it on the far side, or diamonds, or some of these other things. There is always a trace. So if you can play follow the money, you can find where value is being transferred. And if need be, you can stop it from being transferred there.
And, you mentioned follow the money. I mean, this concept also, too, Joe, I mean, this goes back, generations. I mean, it goes
back to the start of capitalism. The moment that we started trading and using things to represent other things, gold, silver, copper, coins, there has been games played around it. And
absolutely. So, I mean, our founders
what games are as well. I'm sorry, Michael. What did you say?
Oh, I'm said, even our founders. I mean, this goes back to our founders. I mean, it was the same concept that they were pretty much getting involved with as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you look, there's always some form of leverage. There's always some sort of transfer. There's always some way of trying to avoid it. I mean, even the smuggling of tea in the early days to avoid taxing. Hey,
Yeah.
all right. The whiskey rebellion because of the taxation, because of the revenue officers. I mean, you eventually that led to full organized crime when alcohol was prohibited, and now we needed a way to move it, and all of a sudden you have violent crime and all this sort of stuff. So the unintended consequences of laws create issues. It also creates opportunities, and being able to think a second, third, fourth order magnitude impact is one of the things that I've been very good at. But also being able to say, all right, if this happens and this and this and this, and all of a sudden you're jumping from step A to step Q, as my ex-wife used to say, because I couldn't, lay out the steps. I just could intuitively do it. And you can actually be there waiting for them when they try to do their bad thing.
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, leading a tremendous career as an intel officer, I'm sure you have seen and experienced some of, life's most, dangerous criminals, cartels, just about everything in this world that can be thrown at you.
I have seen a lot of stuff. I haven't always been on the front lines, but I get some really good stories from a lot of my friends who, whether they were in Afghanistan or Europe or South America, I, I've talked with people who have seen much, much scarier stuff than I have. But yeah, there have been some not nice situations.
Yeah. Now, my question here, Joe, is, as a career in intel.
Savaged, unfiltered.
Something for a half hour every single day. At the end of the year, you are a lot better off. You are an improved individual.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then if you keep doing it over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, over, if you spend a half hour a day, after 5.5 years, you've put 1,000 hours into something. You have become excellent in that space.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to throw in this, back in the day, especially in my generation, I'm sure your generations too. You seem that you're not too much older than me, but we come from almost the similar generations where our parents would say, practice makes perfect. You continue to practice that trait or that passion in life, you're going to eventually master it. And that craft is going to be that passion that you desire in life, whether it's writing books, getting into martial arts, anything, podcasting for that matter. Eventually, exactly, Joe, when you do it every single day, you're going to master it and it's going to come very easy to you. And, especially in today's society, this could be looked as a life lesson, this book, Joe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because anything that's worthwhile takes a while. Let me repeat that. Anything that's worthwhile takes a while. You can't microwave the baby and have them pop out in 2 months. Period. Case closed.
Well, I think that's what we see in today's society. I mean, I think everybody wants that, that upper hand and that glory or whatever they're looking for right away. It's not a snap of a finger. And like you said, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to let it marinate, like you're marinating a chicken or a steak, let it marinate and eventually, it's going to work itself out. You know what I mean?
Right. And this is one of the things that I learned growing up on the farm is that you do the hard work every single day that you need to. And there's certain seasons when you do things, a certain time when you, plow the field, certain time when you plant, certain time when you're harvesting. But if you do this and you do what you have to do every single day with the vision of where you want to go, you'll eventually reap the rewards. So that whether it's as a martial artist or like an entrepreneur, okay, you're not going to build $1 billion company overnight.
No, it takes time.
If you have the vision of being $1 billion company and you go on in and you do the coding every day, you do the A/B testing, and you do the marketing, and you do the things on a daily basis and grind, knowing that this is leading to something important long range, then you don't get as frustrated. You don't get burned out because you're working for something glorious, and you can put in the long hours over an extended period of time to eventually achieve that great result.
Oh, sure, sure. As a book, as an author, as a writer, I have a question. I seem to have a lot of authors and writers that come on the show sometimes, and just listening from different backgrounds and different passions. With your writing and everything, Joe, is this something that came from roots from your childhood, or have you always thought about writing books? Like, what made you write your first book?
So the first book that I actually wrote was probably 12, 13 years ago, and it was a tax book. And it was very slim. It was top tax plays, and it was designed to, using my background as a financial advisor, and I literally read the entire tax code. When the Affordable Care Act came out, I actually literally sat there and read every single page of it. So I'm one of the few people who had that sort of deep knowledge. My friends who were CPAs actually joked that I knew more about the tax code than they did. And it was
sounds like a tutorial book,
It was. So it was, an insight into the logic behind the tax code. And it had about 20 or 30 different examples of overlooked deductions or things that people could do to minimize their tax bill. So that was my first foray, and it was about a 50-page book, sold pretty well. It was top 10 in it. Tax is on Kindle. Next year, I wrote another one similar to that. But I was also writing newspaper articles and things like that. I'd been writing poetry right along. So after that, I started doing something longer form, more impactful. And I wrote Financial Mistakes of New College Grads, Financial Mistakes of Young Americans. I wrote some more technical stuff within financial planning space. So it's just like, you don't start out running ultra marathons. You start out running 5Ks, then you do 10Ks, then half marathons. Then you start doing marathons, and you do a couple of those, and you can even then start comprehending doing bigger things. So
So your first book was more or less like a short story on Kindle, correct? I mean, that's what it seemed like.
It was short. It was to the point. It was very succinct, and it was not written from the point of view of an author trying to have impact. It was written from the point of view of a subject matter expert trying to convey knowledge and give tips.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. Some of these short stories, I mean, they sell, man.
Hey, Florida, is your broadband where it's supposed to be? Is your internet as fast as it should be? Well, take the 1-minute test. Head over to visitfasterflorida.org and find out today, guys. Tremendous broadband for a faster Florida, for a faster tomorrow, guys. Savaged, unfiltered.
They pay out a very high royalty rate. I think it's like 70%. So if you want to write these short stories, these novellas, these 30, 50-page things, and sell them for $1, you're going to get paid 70 cents. If you sell 100,000 of them, that's a $70,000 gig. That's actually more money than
you're taking
of the writers make.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're taking your enterprise to the moon, man, when it gets to that. Folks, today we're joined here by Joe Templin, an author and writer. on many great novels, books on Kindle. And Joe, I want to mention something here. We're talking about short stories. I happen to have a book myself on Kindle. It's actually my first book. I haven't really made a thought of writing another book, because the first book was actually a short book. It was a political book, and entitled Can America Survive After Biden? And I've gotten a couple of sales on it. Nothing crazy or nothing like that, but for those who are just getting into this industry, Joe, do you have any suggestions or advice on where to start?
So one of the things that I've done poorly with, so I want to make sure that people make different mistakes than what I did and learn from me, is
Right.
to embrace the Stephen Covey idea of start with the end in mind. Because
Okay.
I wrote my book and then I started looking, oh, maybe I should go get an agent. Maybe I should find a publishing deal and all that. And that's sort of backwards. So one of the things is write your book proposal. Write what your book's about, why an organization's going to pick it up. Even if you're going to self-publish or go Kindle Direct Publishing or anything like that, write out the value statement around it. So that you understand at least. Because if you're going to find a literary agent, if you're going to go for a traditional publishing deal, you're going to need to sell the book, because they're in the business of making money by selling books. So you need to sell it that way.
Yeah.
And
a lot of
people do that, then in parallel with writing your book, as to the why. My book, I actually, arrogantly thought that the message was so important that it could sort of stand on its own. And so, as Ryan Holiday talks about, writing a book is like you're running a marathon, and you do all 26 2 miles. You put everything that you got to it. You're completely, almost broken, out of energy, and you cross the finish line and they pull you over to the side and you think that they're going to put the Mylar blanket on you and give you your medal and you're going to get a beer. And no, there's another starting line. And now you have the entire next marathon of editing, marketing, doing podcasts, publication, everything around getting what you just did.
Well, that's when the enterprise starts to sink in, Joe. I mean, a lot of people, when they get into the first book, or the thought of writing a book, their mind is so lost. Naturally, it's lost. They don't know how to tackle it. They don't know where to start. They don't know what publishing company to do. A lot of people, and I've heard from some friends and some colleagues of mine, even other people too that I've had on the show, they get to that point where they're like, shit, what route should I go to? Like, should I go to that publishing company? Should I have somebody write it myself? Then they go there and then they're stressing over, I got to spend thousands of dollars for somebody writing a book. Can I write it? So it's a huge headache, but in the end, I think it's a huge investment.
Yeah, and the old saying, many paths lead to the mountaintop. That's true, so true in writing. Some of us, like I wrote all my own stuff and I've ghostwritten for others because I love writing. It's a gift that I have worked on for decades to enhance. And as my mom and the great writer Steve Prefontaine said, to not use the gift as a sin. So I write. I'm not great at marketing. I freely admit it. So I've reached out to other individuals. I'm joining other organizations. I'm hiring people around that because, I could take the time to learn it, but it's better for me in this situation to hire that out and focus on the writing and the speaking and the podcasting and the things like that. That one, I really enjoy, and two, I've got even a modicum of talent with. Sitting there and coding and doing A/B testing and choosing which font. That's not me at all.
Well, speaking of podcasting, you mentioned podcasting, which is very, very, very interesting because I've heard that term, between the two terminologies with podcasting and with writing books. Do you find podcasting very similar to either listening to the book or actually reading a book? Is there similarities at all between both of them?
I actually think that it's more like teaching.
You think so? Yeah.
Because, having taught martial arts for decades, having taught in the college environment and the high school environment, actually going in and volunteering on junior achievement, doing a lot of professional training, podcasting is in a lot of ways a wonderful discussion. And
well, it's modern talk radio. I mean, it's, back in the day we had, the form of terrestrial radio where you only had a certain choice. There wasn't variety then. Now there's so much variety.
And also it was just like in the old days, hurry up, it's coming on, run. Now things are asynchronous. People can listen to this conversation whenever. And they can listen to it multiple times if we actually do a good job in terms of giving them.
That's what's great about podcasting. There's never an expiration date on podcasting versus the old traditional radio. Like podcasting is, you hear this episode, it's still going to be on Spotify. It's still going to be on all these other podcast platforms, unless, for instance, you want to pull the plug yourself, or you made a mistake somewhere, and hopefully you don't do that. And, the platform pulled the plug on you. But, podcasting is here to stay, I think, Joe.
Yeah, because it is an example of 30 years ago, there were 3 TV channels, and then cable started coming out, and you had this proliferation, so there were a certain number of radio stations, and then it extended. This is the same way, in that it's allowing individuals with a voice and a message to be able to produce content and get it out there.
Yeah. And it's a wonderful marketplace for publicity too, to get your, your product or your material out, such as yourself, you coming on a podcast, you're basically self-promoting your product, your book. I mean, how many people listen to this?
I hope people buy my book. I really do, because that's how I buy my beer. But it's actually part of a grander mission for me.
Oh, by far.
My goal is to reach and help positively impact 100 million people over the next 12 months, because we have the natural entropy of the world. We've got, dark days coming. We've got dark forces out there. We've got laziness and apathy and all these other things. And so I want to be able to reach 100 million people and have some form of positive impact on them, to improve their life, to improve their decision-making, to improve their outlook, to give them hope and the kick in the butt so that they can become more excellent. And I don't care if it's through podcasts, people buying books, which is great because it buys me donuts and beer, reading articles I write, going to the website, listening to me on TV or radio. It's all part of this trying to serve the community and help others. And if I can reach that goal, that's a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, but it's what motivates me. And I have this big vision, and it drives me and energizes me so that I can do, multiple hours a day talking to people and sit there and write things and work a 15-hour day. And at the end of it, I'm tired, but it's a good sort of tired because I'm doing it for a purpose.
Yeah, Joe, I got to make a small little goof here, a joke here. Donuts and beer, that doesn't sound good.
Well, I don't have them at the same time because they don't go well with each other. But, ultra marathoners actually have among the worst diets on the planet. So I'm actually really good with my diet. 13 days out of 14. Maybe even 28, 29 days.
Well, I think that's your. Yeah, I was about to say that. I think that's your traditional, American diet. Stuff like donuts and beer, energy drinks, and
half of America's obese because they have it, but they don't earn it. As Matthew McConaughey says in his book Green Lights, earn your Saturday nights. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I took a business trip, and God, was it horrible. I mean, it took me an extra 24 hours to get out there.
Hey guys, if you're trying to look for an organic product, right, you're getting tired of using the over-counter medication that's filled with chemicals filled with all those nasty, cancerous ingredients, guys. Head over to liverishi.com. That's right, guys, liverishi.com. What is Live Rishi? It's an organic CBD oil company that uses natural hemp oil in their products, guys. As you can see, I'm out and about right now. You develop a rash from walking in the park, grab that Live Rishi cream with you, rub it on there. I'm telling you what, guys, it's going to work like wonders. It's going to work like wonders. Use promo code SAVAGED UNFILTERED for 20% off your entire order, guys. And I'm telling you what, that's a great deal. 20% off your entire order. LiveRishi.com. Grab it today.
I was going out there to have in terms of support of the book, all this stuff. It was just absolutely horrible. So I get back home and my buddy's like, you deserve a beer. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to have one because I didn't earn it.
Yeah.
That's you know, if I run 10 miles, I'm allowed to eat donuts. If I work out, I can have a beer afterwards. But if I don't deserve it, and so I don't have it. And it's not like this, amazing amount of discipline like Dwight White and dodgeball, electric himself when he tries to reach for the donut. It's just this if-then statement. It's a deal that I've made with myself. It's having the personal standards. If I earn it, I can have it. But if I don't earn it in my own mind, I don't deserve it. So, beer, it's not going to taste as good as the beer that you earn.
Yeah, one of those metaphors to live by, I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you reap what you sow, but if you don't sow, you don't deserve to have the harvest. So if I don't do what I'm supposed to at work for that day, I don't deserve to get paid.
Yeah, some powerful words, Joe.
It's a different attitude. It's a more old school, it's from growing up on the farm, an agrarian society. Like when the country was founded, 95% of the people lived and worked on farms. And if you don't work, you don't eat. I like to eat. Therefore, I've got a work ethic.
Yeah, it's some powerful words there, Joe. Joe, close it out here. I do want to thank you for coming on the show. Wow. After hearing your story, man, I mean, that's a tremendous story. I mean, you pretty much touched and tackled everything in life. Like I said, Joe Templin, a traditional American, but, I mean, wow.
But Michael, I'm not that exceptional. I'm an average Joe in a lot of ways. I just, connected work and success the same way that generations of immigrants have. You come to America, you roll up your sleeves, you work hard, and it's the land of opportunity. And this is something we need to be reminded of.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But what I mean by
thinking that you deserve it, all you deserve is the chance at life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But get to work and build your own American dream.
Yeah, if I may add, I was going to say something, like what I mean by, a traditional American, but you've touched, on so much that life can, pretty much throw at you. This is stuff that, we don't see today in a modern American society. I wish the society that we've had today, Joe, is a lot, was similar to, my generation or your generation, but we don't see that. We see laziness. We see, it's an
entitled mentality because we've moved so far along the line of everything's easy. And I have a saying, convenience kills.
Oh, yeah, I heard that saying before. It does, and it's definitely killing everybody.
The opposite of excellence. Convenience versus commitment. You do the hard things and it makes you better and you can do more things and have a better life. But if you do, always take the easy route, you'll never have strength. You'll never have moral fortitude. You'll never have resilience, and you will never get the great rewards. You'll just get, the scraps at the table.
Yeah. I'm going to leave it at that, Joe. I wish I can have more time to talk to you because, I mean, you sound like a remarkable person. Guys, you just heard Joe Templin, an author, an entrepreneur, a writer, just about everything, guys. If you want to follow Joe, you can visit the Intro Machine to read more on this, as well as his books, projects, and check out some of his blog entitled Excellence Blog at his website at every-excellence.com. Joe, it's been an honor, man.
Excellence.com, because every day we have a chance to be excellent.
Absolutely. Amen to you, Joe. Thank you for joining us today, Joe, and you have a tremendous day, sir.
Michael, thank you. Be excellent and grow today.
You too,